report suspicious activity, to work with their law enforcement personnel so that we can begin to deny safe haven on both sides of the border. That is our mutual goal.
The last question is Andrew Quinn from Reuters. No, we said 2-2. Andrew Quinn from Reuters, please.
Okay.
Hello, this is Andy Quinn from Reuters. Madam Secretary, if we could just go back to the question of the militants and the safe havens. There's been another threat this morning from the Pakistani Taliban that they're going to launch a new war in Pakistan. And I'm wondering what your advice is to the Pakistan government in light of threats like these, which seem to reemerge as quickly as they can be faced down. What practical steps are you proposing that the Pakistanis take on the ground to make good your request to crack down on the safe havens? And how can you ask more of the Pakistani military when you're holding back hundreds of millions of dollars in U.S. military assistance and have not yourselves declared the Haqqani Network a foreign terrorist organization? And Foreign Minister Carr, it's sort of the same question but directed at you. There seems to be some question about whether the Pakistani military could actually crack down on the Haqqani Network even if it wanted to. Do you think that the U.S. is asking the impossible of Pakistan with this request? And is your emphasis on peace talks on both sides of the border a reflection of an understanding that you cannot conquer this militarily? Thank you.
Well, Andy, first, let me say that as I mentioned earlier, the Pakistani Taliban are a terrible threat to Pakistan. And we want to do everything we can to help Pakistan deal with that threat. We think that the threat, the scourge of terrorism is indiscriminate. And therefore, we have to increase our intelligence sharing, our planning, our military cooperation, economic assistance in areas to peel people away from the intimidation and efforts of the extremists to enlist them. It's a big agenda to deal with this threat of terrorism. But the bottom line is we have no choice. There is an urgency to this because it is interrupting the daily lives of innocent people. Women going to the market, children going to school, police officers patrolling streets. I mean, innocent people who wake up in the morning in Pakistan or Afghanistan just trying to go about their lives and are brutally murdered by terrorists whose disregard for human life seems to be endless. So yes, we take seriously the threats internal to Pakistan as well as cross-border threats. And that is why we have to do the three things simultaneously that I talked about yesterday in Kabul. We have to continue fighting this threat. We have to talk with those who are willing to talk to try to be part of a peace process to end the threat. And we have to try to build a better future in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the region. So we are not just, a one-note song here. We are trying to put together a broad basis for our cooperation. And I want very much for the people of Pakistan to understand that we believe we're in this fight with you. And we want to do whatever we can to try to end the violence and eliminate the threat that stalks innocent people's lives. And I guess finally, I would say that, we've had great cooperation in the past. The efforts we've undertaken with the support of the Pakistani government to go after al-Qaeda has proven to be quite effective. Now we have to turn our attention to the Pakistani Taliban, the Afghan Taliban, Haqqani, and other terrorist groups, and try to get them into a peace process, but if that fails, prevent them from committing more violence and murdering more innocent people.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, let me just say that I would want to emphasize that Pakistan by no means takes the threat of terrorism unseriously. I want to emphasize that because in many of these questions that have come from the floor, there seems to be an impression that Pakistan wants to track or not look at this, Pakistan does not look at this threat seriously and does not respond to this threat seriously. Let me say that if the last 5 years, 7 years, 8 years are anything to go by, we have taken this threat seriously. We have acted against this threat. We have acted against this threat inside our borders. We have acted against this threat by cooperating with the US and 48 other countries. We have acted against this threat by cooperating with Afghanistan. So we do take this threat very, very seriously. Now, as to what is the modus operandi, and let me also say, let me reconfirm that there is no question of any support by any Pakistani institutions or any Pakistani institutions to safe havens in Pakistan. Let me be unequivocal, completely clear on that. And that is something that came up during the long interactions that we had with you, Madam Secretary, and also during the long interactions that the Pakistanis internally had through the leadership, represented by all the Pakistani political leaders in the All Pakistan's conference. So let me be clear on those two counts. One, that we do take this threat very, very seriously because we live through this threat on a daily basis. We live through this threat on an hourly basis. And secondly, that there is no question of any support to any safe havens inside Pakistan. Do safe havens exist on both sides of the border? Yes, the Secretary is right. Safe havens do exist on both sides of the border. Do we need to cooperate? Or, terrorists exist on both sides of the border. Do we need to cooperate together to be able to achieve the results? Yes, we can cooperate more and achieve better results than doing, solo flights of sorts. So after being clear on those two counts, let me also be clear that we are keen to cooperate with you and other countries more closely to be able to evolve a common strategy to be able to fight against terrorism. We are keen to be able to share, to be able to increase our cooperation in the intelligence fields and other fields. Let all that be clear. But let me also be clear that like any other nation, Pakistan's future strategy is going to be determined by the institutions that are Pakistan-based, that are in Pakistan. Let me also be clear that it is the Parliament of Pakistan which gives authority to the executive of Pakistan to give authority for any military action. So let all those things be clear. And within that paradigm, I don't see ourselves